Being a Wednesday, it is time for us to talk all things legal. Antonio is here from Perth and Heredia, the Alicante lawyers. Welcome back. Good to see you.
Happy to be here.
You always get the holiday gigs.
Yes, I do, don't I? Yeah.
Where are they this time?
I think they're having an extended lunch somewhere.
An extended, that's nice, isn't it? Extended lunch.
It's nice to be boss.
Fancy that. Of course it is. We've been hearing quite a lot about golden visas for quite a while, but we've heard even more about them this week because it seems that the Senate, the upper house, threw it back to the lower house and didn't pass it. And we're guessing that's because one political party has a bigger hold over the Senate than the lower house. It got passed in the lower house, didn't it?
That's right.
Where the president or the prime minister has a majority with all little parties helping him to push things through. So what happens now?
Well, that's an excellent question. Well, the Spanish political system of two chambers or two levels, what says is the Senate may send it back to the first chamber with a list of modifications. Like, okay, we like your law, not enough to pass it, but, it's not bad. So if you do this, and this, then we may pass it again. But the funny thing about this system is that the Congress is not required to send it to the Senate to be passed again. They can
so they don't have to vote on it again?
That's right. They don't have to vote on it again. It's just the Congress will now decide if they're going to implement some or none of the changes or all of the changes that they submitted, and then they'll vote on it again. So the law is going to pass, most likely, but it won't be immediate. So we're getting like a reprieve or 4, 5, 6 months.
Okay. And at that point, does it go back to the upper house again? Or
no, we'll get
it
past.
Just goes through?
Yeah, we'll go through. That's right.
So the good news there is, for anybody who was thinking about getting a golden visa, then you still can. And you don't actually have to have a property at the moment. You'd be intending to buy.
Yes.
And you can sign up. Is that how you would say? You would sign up for a golden visa for the future?
That's right. Let's call it like a pre-inscription or pre-application of the golden visa. What you need to do is to have a property that you want and that you like. So you've seen a property, maybe it's a new build and it's not ready yet. So even if you wanted to buy it, you cannot buy it yet or not safely. So I have a case, in fact, in which one of my clients is buying a property, but it will be finished likely on February or March next year. So if the Senate had passed the Golden Visa law or the law containing the Golden Visa provision, then he could be out of time. However, knowing this, we did a pre-application for the Golden Visa, so that gives him 6 months since the application to complete the purchase of the property, and you are in the system. That means that even if the law passed today, he could be okay to continue with his Golden Visa application until completion on February or March. So that gives people that still want the Golden Visa time to come to Spain or shop online for a property, get an arrangement and a contract on that, and still apply for the Golden Visa.
Okay, and from that point, when you get that application in, it's 6 months from that point.
6 months from that point.
Right.
You have to complete the purchase of the property in 6 months. If you go over that, then we believe you will be out. But, this is uncharted territory.
And you've been processing quite a few golden visas in the recent weeks. So thousands have been issued since they first said they were going to kill it, didn't they?
Yes, that's true. It's one of those things. It's a Black Friday situation. Everything must go. Now they're offering Golden Visa, at a sale. It's no longer going to be again on the market, not while this government is in power for sure. And I don't think the next one is going to approve it either. So if you want it, you have to get it now, or you won't. So yes, that's right. That it has been a surge of Golden Visa applications, and of course of Golden Visa webinars and meetings and such. All the people want to know, or everyone wants to know, if they have the ability to get the Golden Visa, if they should get it now or not.
And of course, that is the subject of the webinar this afternoon, yes?
That's right, yes.
So plenty more on that from 5:30 on alicantelawyers.es. Now, of course, we mentioned golden visas. They're not the only thing that you can use to gain your residency here in Spain. There are plenty of other options, yeah?
Yes, and in fact, funnily enough, Golden Visa is not even the most popular, but because now they are, on sale or, they're going away. So they are all the rage. But there's plentiful other options to obtain a visa or a residencia that you can apply for to live here or to stay here in Spain for as long as you like. The most popular is probably the non-lucrative visa that allows you to come and stay in Spain for as long as you want, but it doesn't allow you to work in Spain. You can work for a foreign country or for a foreign company, but not for a Spanish company while in Spain.
So you can be a digital nomad working in a different country.
You could be a digital nomad. You could be just retired, and which is probably the most popular option. And then you get your pension, which is obviously technically not considered working, and you stay here and you spend and you say enjoy Spanish weather. Not today, but in general.
Mm-hmm. And there are other various family options, different types of visa for that?
Of course, the Golden Visa and the non-lucrative visa are aimed for extra Europeans, but if you have any ties to Europe, for example, you have a residency in another European country, you can try to transfer that, which in some cases can be done. If you are married or, you are with somebody that's a European or has a European residency, you can try for apply for one of those. If you have to take care of a family member that also has a valid visa or European residence, you can apply for that as well, to be a carer and so on and so forth. So there's other processes. Also,
actually, it depends on the individual. They might be better for them to have a different type of visa than, say, this one or that one.
Oh yeah, because remember the golden visa requires €500,000 that you have to buy a property. So that's why the non-lucrative visa, which is not as expensive, is more popular. It does not allow you to work. That's true, but most people that come here, or a lot of people that come here, are happy with that because they either are working still for their companies on their home countries or other countries, or they just retired. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you also have the student and work visa as well.
We've looked at the latest change to golden visas. We seem to have a change to golden visas every other week, don't we?
Yes.
What about the tourist bans? Because that's become quite a big thing in the past year or two, hasn't it? And we've seen quite a few in the Alicante area, and most recently Alicante itself.
Yes, that's right. The last one that we know of that has banned golden visas for 2 years is Alicante capital city. And 2 years is a long time. That supersedes other bans that have been approved in the area. Altea has 1 year ban. Jave has 6 months, which will finish in early 2025, and also Denia has 1 year ban. The shorter one of Jave is because they're just thinking what they're going to do. But Alicante, they also said they were going to think it, but they're going to take 2 years to decide to make analysis.
So it's not that's just while they make their minds up again. Then
yes,
a 2 year tourist visa ban, tourist license rather.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That means that no new licenses will be issued in the Alicante town hall. If you already have it, then there's no problem.
What about renewals then?
That's an excellent question to which we have
You're
no
the property
answer.
man.
Yes, I know. But as you remember, or probably our listeners remember, that on the 2nd of August this year, they approved a new law for licenses, and you didn't used to need to renew it. You just changed ownership of the license, but the license was attached to the property. But that changed, and now if you transfer the property in any way, then you have to actually apply for a new license, and it's up for discussion if it's considered just a renewal, license maintains, but you're just changing kind of the ownership, even though you have to submit all the documentation all over again, or if it's considered just, a brand new license, the license expires with the transfer of the property.
Okay, so we don't know yet. And that's that on a national scale?
No.
Just individual
That's
regions.
right. Okay, just Comunidad Valenciana. Mm-hmm. But remember that the license is comprised of 2 main steps. So you've got the town hall from the city in which you apply in. They issue a compatibility certificate. That's the one that has been banned. So the town halls, the part that they can control is they don't issue a compatibility certificate saying that the property that you want to have a license for is compatible for having a license. And then the second part, once you've got the certificate, is the Valencia Central Tourism Agency. They issue the actual tourist license. So the thing is, if you've got the license recently and now you've sold, then maybe the person that is now buying the property, they may reuse the compatibility certificate that you had, apply for it in Valencia straight, and still get the license. So the current working theory, still to be tested, is that if you had the license recently, or the property that you're buying has had the license obtained recently, maybe you can actually get a license or get the license, let's say, renewed, no problem. But if it had it and you buy it, then we believe you should be able to change the ownership of the license, but it has not been guaranteed in every town. So in Altea, you can for sure, 100%.
Right.
But we don't know in Alicante and Denia yet.
Okay, I saw your eyes light up there because you like to test these things, don't
Yeah,
you?
it's quite. Well, it's quite interesting, isn't it?
course,
Again,
yeah.
I've said several times, and I'll say it again: the tourist license law that we have is rubbish. It's really poorly redacted, done a hasty job, and now it's full of holes. So it's not absolutely clear every one of the details. I think it is because the lawmakers made it, but without consulting any of the interested parties. So they didn't talk to anyone, any of the professionals involved on the tourist license business. Which, at least to get a report, a professional report by the different
The people
agencies.
who deal with these things on a daily basis have a better idea. So, why were they rushing? Is that why they did that, or they just don't want to know the answers?
That's a good question. I guess it's just a political move for some reason. I don't think it's as popular as they believe I believe it is. Certainly not with me, but
You have to deal with it every day.
right, and with our clients either, because it's just making it complicated. And there's people that will think it twice, thinking you're buying for an investment and now you're not sure if you're going to get a license, or at least you're not going to get it for the next year. Then maybe you second guess your decision, which I understand, of course.
And we do have, obviously, that issue where we were talking about this recently again on the radio about how the fact is in Spain that there aren't really enough properties for people anyway. So people buying for investment to put out for tourists, they have to try and find some way of limiting that or slowing down the process.
Yeah, what they should do, in my opinion, is to incentivize people renting long term. So make it, either give a economic bonus or something, tax break if you rent it long term, and that way you will have people, more security
For landlords, then.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
of course, because you've got enough tenants. So if you need what you need to do is convince those landlords that have 3, 4, 5 properties.
I think that's right. That's fair, isn't it? If you've got more than a certain amount of properties, then perhaps go that way, and
That's right.
that helps everybody.
That's right. You have to convince them. So far, with the best they've done is coerce people. So if you have a landlord and you've got more than 10 properties, then you are mandatory. You have to put some of them out to rent.
A certain percentage, perhaps.
Yeah, but people will. You can work your way around it. So if there's like 10 homes in your family group, so you, your wife, a couple of children, you have 10, 15 homes, you just redistribute ownership. So every individual person is under the threshold because they don't consider this rule for per family unit, but for individual persons. So you can always play the game. But if you make it sweeter for them to put it out for rent, then they'll start renting out. And if you protect the landlords a little bit more, tenants that are abusive won't get abuse of them, and people will say, oh yeah, I'm making some money, not paying too much tax on that. I have people staying at the home, keeping it safe from squatters, ocupas and such. I don't see what the problem is, and I think then probably housing pressure will, I guess, probably not grow up.
It would ease somewhat from the pressure
Probably.
cooker that we have at the moment. Because
Yes.
nothing has really been resolved. I mean, Barcelona are prioritising their long-term rental accommodation over short-term stays in the way that
Yeah.
you've described there. But this has nothing to do with the fact that the mayor said they're going to ban Airbnb from the city by 2029. This is just another thing. One of those things, let's do this while we think and we work out how we're going to do it. I mean, that just seemed like, again, politics, really. The city mayor in Barcelona saying, right, we're going to ban them, but not until 2029.
Yeah. So it's like, please elect me again, so I will be in power when 2029 gets here, so I can pass it. Yeah, it happens. all
Plenty
the
of
time.
politics going on in and around this situation, but nobody really seeming to come up with or even talk, perhaps, about a proper tourist model. We know that the model we have isn't working right across Spain, but what would, and is anybody even thinking about it or doing anything about it politically? We're not due elections yet, are we? I suppose we'll see some more of that as we come close to elections. 2027, isn't it?
That's right, but you've posed a great question, and I absolutely agree with you. It's like, okay, you don't like this system. I understand. Let's make it better. I'm happy for that. And I certainly also agree that it could be improved, but show me some options, right? If not,
the politicians need the incentive, like an election.
of course.
Mind
yes.
you, actually, I say that 2027 is the next election when it's due. But if there's a budget issue beginning of next year and the PSOE cannot pass the budget, then we might end up with another election again straight away.
Yeah, I think they'll pry power out of Sanchez dead cold hands.
Somewhere,
Honestly.
over my dead body, I think is the way the phrase.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
He's not going. If he can avoid it, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah. I think one of the parties that in the alliance, I believe Sumar said that they would not help with the budget. But, it depends what he can offer them in return.
That's what I
see.
think. When you need so many small parties to make a decision, then you need to compromise. So they just, playing with times, making it hard on the president, on the political party. So they, gives them more concessions, gives them more things.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because some of those smaller parties are separatists, that are working with the main government to help keep them in power. And how far does he go, or how far will he go? We've already seen quite far with the pardoning of some of those Catalan separatists that were responsible for that illegal partition.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good question. In Spain, as you, the main two parties, one is more, Sanchez is more about compromise and such, and probably the Popular Party is more about a tough line. So they did the article in Catalonia, and they went there with the Guardia Civil to stop the election, the voting that they had and such. Which one of the two ways is the best? That's probably the big question.
You have been involved in somebody who had an issue with their property contract recently, where everything was all signed, all went through properly.
You see,
but
the story sounds common, but also interesting. So I have a client that is really loving a property in the Macisbenda area. So this is Cieza, North Murcia, all right? So it's countryside and such. So he liked one a lot, and we took a good look at it, and I had to tell him, don't buy it. It's like, you cannot buy it. This property is not fit. You cannot buy it. So he agreed with me. He really was liking it. He agreed with me and decided not to pursue. So he continued searching for properties, and then I found another one. And he sent me on the details and got in touch with the other party, with the agent, and take a look. And then, thankfully, the other party released some information for me. It's like, yes, the property is being sold to your client. However, the sellers already sold it to another buyer. So contracts were exchanged.
Right.
There was no signing at the notary, because the buyers couldn't come up with the money because they relied on a mortgage in their country. That mortgage was denied, and then now they don't have the money to buy.
But the contract still exists.
So my client said, okay, Antonio, all right, that's fine by me. So sellers have the property. First buyers try to buy it. They don't have the money. So now I come and buy it. What's the problem? It's like a logic so solid and so flawed. That's what I thought, because his line of reasoning was solid, but no, that's not how it works. So the fact that you cannot complete a contract or comply with a contract, that doesn't mean that one of the parties, the seller in this case, can unilaterally say, well, that's it, guys. That's it. That's it. And I'll move on to the next one in line. No, the contract must be severed by both parties in agreement, ideally. And if not, then a judge has to decide who's right, and to actually break the contract for them.
Is there no time limit on these contracts? They just go on forever until somebody's actually bought it or not?
You are playing with fire. Okay. So let's go to two examples. As I explained, I was talking to this client yesterday. So I put him two options. Well, so two things can happen. Either previous buyer and seller come to an agreement on whatever they decide, because the issue was not that the buyers wanted to actually buy the property because they can't, is because they pay 10% deposit. They read, of course. So they pay 10% of the price, which is like 30-something thousand euros, and the seller says, I'm very sorry, but now that's my money. So, the seller said, well, you cannot complete. You've paid 10%. You cannot complete on the date. Then it's not my problem. The money is mine. And the buyers were not willing to say, well, you are not going to get 30,000 euros just because we couldn't come up with the money to buy the property. And the seller replied, that's what the contract says, which is, in fact...
Is that what contracts, they don't generally say that?
That's right. Generally, they say if you pay 10%, then you, as a buyer, you must be sure that you can come up with the money. Mm-hmm. This is an extreme situation. It's really unlikely, really unusual that this happens. Normally, people are sure that they can get the money to buy a property before they commit, 10% of the property price in order to do it. You can, gamble with 1,000 euros, but I guess, but not with
30,000.
That's right. But in this case, the two options, as I was saying, either buyer and seller come to an agreement, first buyer, and they either give the money back or they keep it or, break it in the middle. or they do not. And if they do not, then somebody is going to sue somebody. So most likely the previous buyer are going to sue the sellers, blocking the transfer of the property because the property is now on dispute. So while the lawsuit is ongoing, the first thing I would do if I were the previous buyer's lawyer, is I will write an injunction on the property, blocking it from sale. So any prospecting new buyers that take a look at the property, Nota Simple in the land registry information, will see that there's a marking made by the land registry saying that the property is subject to a claim made in court. So buy at your own risk. I was saying that the sellers made a really good decision disclosing the information, but not a good decision to my clients. In fact, I would have preferred for them not to tell me and for me to pursue and buy the property without knowing. Because if you buy a property from a seller and you don't know that the property is in dispute, you're in the clear.
Right.
Any claims have to go to the seller. But now that we know, and obviously I've been duly informed in writing, then I cannot ignore it. So now that I know that property is in dispute, if I proceed to buy it, then I'm liable to lose the property, well, in this case, my clients, to lose the property if they buy it, if the lawsuit doesn't go the seller's way.
Right.
So
it's a bigger risk.
So the solution for us, the new buyers, is for the previous buyers and the seller to come to an agreement. So that's what we're pushing for. So we are pressuring and pushing everybody.
I mean, it's much better if they go to get the situation sorted out. Otherwise, because things, when you go to court in Spain, we know it doesn't happen tomorrow.
That's right.
It takes a long time.
At least you're going to have 1 or 2 years for sure in which the property cannot be sold, and that's not good for anybody, even for 30,000 euros. So an agreement should be done. I believe in this case that the buyers, at some degree, they should be punished for the reckless, purchase. At some point, but 30,000 euros, to me, sounds like too much. So I think
the seller's done well there because they haven't actually had to do anything.
That's right. And even you can sell now the property at a discount even if you want, because you get extra money from the previous buyer. I don't know what they decided to do on the price, regarding the price. But you are more relaxed about it. But where's the real harm for the sellers? They've lost 6 months of the life in which they wanted to actually sell the property and they couldn't. They haven't bought another property with that money. So it's not like they got into a financial commit financially to something that they couldn't deliver. Defaulting themselves is they went and rented something. So there's really no harm for the sellers. It's a big conundrum, this case.
Yeah, and it's a big decision, isn't it, to go ahead with a purchase or attempt to go ahead with a purchase if there's a question.
But that's the thing. If you are properly assessed or advised by your independent lawyer, then you can go ahead. So what I've advised my client is the property is fine. The property itself, the paperwork, everything looks fine. So let's pursue. We'll sign a reservation agreement with the sellers in which we disclose this information, and we put one of the conditions is this is sorted out before we complete at the notary, or we won't, and you, the sellers, will be penalized for it.
Right.
That way, you sweeten the possibilities for the previous buyers and the sellers to get an agreement. Because me, as the new buyer, I don't care who gets the money. I just care that it gets sorted out. So
it's clear for you to buy without any questions.
Go ahead and do it. So there's a way to proceed with these and protect my clients.
Excellent. Love it. I just love the intricacies of it's obviously not good if you're in the situation, but hearing about these real life situations
yes.
that you go through here in Spain with the different aspects of it.
Of course.
We were hearing about inheritance just a couple of weeks ago from Antonio with his current live case as well.
Yes,
really interesting.
Of course.
You said, and actually, these are always a big sort of subject in the office.
Yes, of course. Yeah. One of the things that we do when we meet, particularly when I meet other people of the real estate team, which we don't see each other that often, is we exchange comments on our latest cases, and we have our Teams group, and we talk out whenever we have a question or one of these issues that's a little bit more intricate than usual. You put it in the team so everybody can pitch in and think, I think you should go this way, or how about this, or have you thought about that? So we're a team, so we should work as a team as often as we can.
Excellent. Okay, don't forget the webinar today on golden visas. That's at 5:30 on the website. AlicanteLawyers.es is the best way to get there in English. Or you can go pay it down Heredia as well. That'll take you to the website too. Antonio, thanks very much indeed. Good to see you.